you can still have fun and eat healthy and supply your body with what it needs every day. It made me not scared to mess up every now and then.
You're not going to learn anything in a day. You're not going to unlearn maybe years of less than ideal habits.
It was nice to be able to learn how to give myself grace on different situations, but also feel like I was improving.
This is the long game. It's not an overnight fix. This is a lifestyle change. So just having patience and being kind to yourself.
But the hardest part is just starting.
If there was one thing the world was asking for, it was for one more podcast about CrossFit. Well, here we are anyways. This is the Silverback Media Podcast, where we share the stories of the everyday CrossFitter, so that more people are encouraged and empowered to try it themselves. Here's your host and everyday CrossFitter, Marco Mejia.
What is happening, Silverback Media crew? Welcome back to the Silverback Media Podcast, the podcast for you, the everyday CrossFitter, where we're on a mission to make the world a better place by getting more people involved in CrossFit. My name is Marco Mejia. I'm your host here on the show. I'm a level 2 CrossFit coach in Phoenix, Arizona at CrossFit North Scottsdale. And on the show this week, this is actually kind of a callback to a previous episode. So if you remember back episodes 14 and 15, I had the coaches on from the Untapped Nutrition team that's run out of CrossFit North Scottsdale ahead of their fall nutrition challenge that was being run last year. And now this week, we get to have the winner of that challenge, Saira Costo. She's a member at CrossFit North Scottsdale. So she comes on to tell her story, her background, how she got into CrossFit, but also what enticed her to join the nutrition challenge and her experience through that challenge. Along with Saira, we have her coach on from that challenge, Rocky DiPalma, who now is a record-setting third-time guest on the show. So if you've been on the fence about working on your nutrition, hiring a nutrition coach, this story will give you an example of what that could look like, specifically working with Rocky, but in general, working with a nutrition coach. Before we get to that interview with Saira and Rocky, remember to go follow or subscribe on whatever platform you're listening on. So if you're watching me here on YouTube, or if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, make sure you're followed, make sure you're subscribed, make sure you do it across all three because the robots are watching and we want to help make sure that they're happy. Okay, now conspiracy theories aside, that's 31 down, 10,000 to go. Let's go talk to Saira and Rocky. All right, Saira Costo, welcome to the Silverback Media Podcast. And then for a record third time now, Rocky is back on the show. So Saira, welcome to the show. Excited to talk to you after the nutrition challenge and everything like that. So happy to have you on.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited.
First question before we get into the challenge stuff. Are your legs as sore from yesterday's workout as mine and Rocky's are? Because we were talking about this earlier and it's not okay.
I feel it more from the workout I did today. My legs are pretty sore.
Today,
I don't know,
yeah,
from probably rowing so much. Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. That makes sense. Okay. All right, good. So hopefully all of us, can at least have some space to stretch out legs while we're talking here. So if we cramp up or anything, I'll edit that out later. All right. So Saira, let's get into your background. So you won the nutrition challenge that was run at CrossFit North Scottsdale through Untapped Nutrition. It was the fall nutrition challenge. We had Rocky and the other nutrition coaches on earlier in the year, last year, before that challenge started. So now we get to talk to you as the winner of the challenge to kind of get a sense of your experience, how it went, what you learned, things like that. So real quick, I just pulled up the Instagram post with the results that you had. So you gained, because it was a 6-week challenge, correct? Yeah, 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So in 6 weeks, you gained 2.5 pounds of muscle, dropped 3.5% body fat, which is that feels like that's a big change in a 6-week time frame. Was that surprising for you? Was that cool to see? Like, how did you feel about the results when it all wrapped up?
Yeah, I was really surprised because I didn't really know what to expect going into it because I've never had like knowledge of like how much protein I should eat or what's the percent of body fat you should have compared to muscle and all that. Like I'd never really had thought much about that or gotten that ever like tested on myself or anything. So just learning about that and then getting my result, I was really surprised and really happy with it.
Nice. Yeah. Seriously. It's a short time frame to have, like results like that. So I'm sure that was probably pretty cool, especially like you said, you kind of didn't know what to expect going into it. So it was like, cool. That was a pleasant surprise to say the least. Right. So, awesome.
Definitely.
Well, before we get into more of the nitty gritty of like how the challenge went itself, things you learned, let's get some background on you from a like a physical perspective, right? When you were, growing up, things like that, were you active, playing sports, running around, getting into trouble? Like, what were you into?
Oh yeah, I've played sports my whole life. So when I was little, I played softball, soccer, basketball, and then as I got older, I stuck with soccer. And then I started playing some of the high school sports that were in different seasons. So in high school, I did basketball, swim, tennis, and soccer, and then I did weightlifting classes. If you played a sport, you had to be in weightlifting classes, so that's where I learned how to start lifting weights. And I did one weightlifting competition with the football team because I liked it so much. So I would practice after school here and there. And yeah,
Oh, that's pretty cool. How did that go? That
it was
competition?
good. Yeah, it was pretty cool. I mean, it was just with the football team from our school, and then there was a couple other people that were on the weightlifting team. Um, and yeah, you get up on the block or whatever and do your lift. I think I did a clean and jerk at like my PR, but I dropped it right on my head. But it was still
Ooh.
cool to
Oh,
see, cool to do. It wasn't too bad. Like it wasn't like a really bad drop, but it was funny to watch a video back.
oh my. Okay. Well, if there is video, we might need to track that video down somewhere. Um, no, so thinking on that, it sounds like because I've had other people on that have played sports through high school and things like that, right? And so that's where that was kind of their first exposure to weightlifting or structured workouts in general, right? It's kind of a mixed bag in terms of like whether people enjoyed that aspect of it or not, or kind of saw it as call it like a necessary evil, right? Like you said, you were kind of required to do it if you were playing sports. But I mean, considering you did a competition, it sounds like you enjoyed it. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Was there
yeah, I
anything
loved it a
about it
lot.
was there anything about it that you were like that drew you to it?
Yeah, I think part of it was my teacher for that class, my gym teacher. He was awesome, and he always wanted you to do your best. Whereas compared to some of the other weightlifting teachers that we had at school, I think they were just kind of like, yeah, do the workout, do the movement. But he was always like, you can do more. Like, you got it. I believe in you. Like, put some more weight on. Or he would just, if he saw me start off with a lesser weight than he thought I could do, he'd just come over and take it off and be like, go put like a 45 on. You can do that. So it's just when you have someone inspiring you to do better, it's kind of like, and I'm very competitive too. So I was kind of like, yeah, I can do that. Like, let me, let me try it. So yeah, I think it's a little bit of the competitivism and then feeling strong too. I really liked that aspect of just feeling like I could lift and be strong. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a really cool to like have that type of experience early on in your experience with weightlifting. Because I mean, I'm making a kind of generalization, or I don't know. Well, Rocky, I kind of know your background in terms of weightlifting, but you tell me here, like that type of experience early on working with a coach that has that approach to it, can really draw you in and really set you up for a long run of like being involved in weightlifting, being involved in health and fitness, where like it could very easily have gone the other way too, right? With like
Yeah,
the
definitely.
impact of one person or one coach. I mean, I don't know, Rocky, you're nodding your head too. So,
Well, I think
so
we touched on it when we talked, but I had that introduction through CrossFit, so a little bit later in life, but coaches that just made me feel like I could do anything. I was strong, encouraged me, inspired me. But like you said, it could have gone completely opposite. I could have had coaches that didn't give a crap, and I could have never continued with CrossFit.
yeah,
So, yeah, I think that makes a huge difference, just having people to support you and inspire you for sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So then that got you through high school. So after high school, I mean, did you, keep play any sports in college? Did you keep that up, that kind of training component up through college? Like how did that go after high school wrapped up?
Yeah, so I always would go to the gym. During high school, we had with club soccer, I'd have practice during the weeks and then, or a couple days during the week. And then the other days, once I got my license, I would just go to the gym and do workouts that I thought would work, like running or I don't know, lifting weights. But I was in high school, I didn't know what I was doing. And then into college, I learned a little bit more about different muscle groups and how to like uh what's it called, like muscle to mind, using
Oh, like
which
the mind muscle connection.
yes,
Yeah.
like figuring
Yeah.
out like, oh, if I'm doing this, I could feel it in this muscle and that's the one I'm
Mm.
working. And so I slowly started to realize that stuff in college and how to work different muscle groups and for different results. And I would just go to the gym and sometimes I would do weightlifting, but the gym was always packed, so I never really got to do the barbell stuff. But when I did have the chance, I would. But just little like cardio and then like equipment lifting or dumbbell stuff. So nothing too crazy. And then I did play a little bit of intramural soccer, but that was as far as it went in sports.
Gotcha. But you mostly kept up the kind of the fitness routine and things like through college then, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Because that could be a challenge. I mean, I don't know.
definitely.
Like I was lucky enough that I played baseball in college, so it was kind of a, similar to how you had that, you were required to do weightlifting in high school if you were playing sports. I kind of had that same thing, right? And I like very
Yeah,
easily could have like let that go when I got to college. So good on you for
yeah,
doing that, because that could be an easy time of life to be like, nah, I think I'm gonna skip the gym for a few years. Who knows, right?
yeah,
So
definitely.
at the throughout any of that, had you heard of CrossFit? Had that been something that like paid attention to at all, or was that completely like out of the realm of stuff for you?
Yeah, I don't think I ever really I feel I definitely knew what it was, what CrossFit was, but I never thought about joining a gym or anything in college. It wasn't really until a year ago. I think Rocky told me today that it was my year anniversary of being at
Oh,
CrossFit North Scottsdale. So like about a year
congratulations.
ago is when I thought about starting it. Yeah, thank you. So that's kind of when I learned more about CrossFit, I guess, because I never really thought about joining a gym. So
Okay. So
yeah.
you didn't have any like, because some people will come into, or they'll have some, thoughts about what CrossFit may be or what they think it is or what they've heard from other people or something like that before they go try it themselves. It doesn't sound like that was something that, I mean, I don't know, you tell me, it doesn't sound like that's something you really had any thoughts one way or
Yeah,
another on it.
I just heard that it's hard. And so I think it was kind of back home during the summers. There's this gym, it's called Fitness MD, and they do like functional workouts, not really CrossFit, but it is like running and then lifting, and there's different stations. Um, so I had done those kinds of workouts a lot, and I think when I heard about CrossFit and then people were like, "Oh, it's hard," then I kind of was like, "Okay, yeah, I want to try that now."
Yeah. So it's more about like chasing. So you're like, all right, if it's something hard, kind of, I don't know, maybe it's a little bit of like what that coach in high school instilled in you. It's like, no, you can do a little bit more.
Yeah,
So chasing
definitely.
that is like,
Yeah.
if it's gonna be hard, yeah, let's go give it a shot.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. Well, congrats on a year too. I mean, that feels like it went by quick. I wonder.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Do you
It
remember
feels,
what your
yeah, it
first?
doesn't feel like a year.
Do you remember that first workout? Do you remember what your first workout was?
Yeah, it was cleans.
Cleans. Sorry, I was
Yeah.
reacting to Rocky. I don't know what happened down there.
Oh.
Okay, so it was sorry.
That's
I'll cut this
okay.
out later. All right, so there were cleans,
Yeah, it was
which
squat cleans.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what else, but I remember that was it. And then coming in and seeing that was the workout, I was like, oh yeah, I like this already. I haven't been able to lift like this in a long time.
You're like, I know I'm going to have a barbell. I'm going to have my own space. Or man, that gives you such a leg up walking into a CrossFit gym, like having already had that kind of experience too. Cause I mean, and I'm sure you've seen, right? Like over the course of the past year, there's new members showing up and things, and we've seen it too. The Olympic lifts they're not easy to learn.
No,
It takes a good long while to get comfortable with them.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So having that exposure for you was probably huge. How about the gymnastic side of things?
Yeah, that never, I've never been able to do a pull up besides this past year. So I've never really done anything like that before. So that was a little bit harder for me to learn and get the movements down, but I think I'm getting there.
Oh no, your pull-ups have come a long way. Definitely, definitely.
Yeah,
I know we were talking
definitely.
about that. I can't remember what that workout was. Um, you were in one of my classes, and yeah, you're crushing some pull-ups. So it's definitely come a long way in just a year.
Yeah.
How so after that, obviously you had squat cleans that first workout, which was probably for you. You were like, all right, sweet, this is nice. We get to lift some heavy stuff again, right?
Hmm.
Was there anything specific about that? Maybe not even that first class, but even just those first few classes, any experiences or anything that you were like, okay, this CrossFit thing, like, thing is the thing for me.
Yeah, I really loved the atmosphere. Besides loving the workouts and the type of work it was, I just loved the atmosphere and I loved how everyone knew each other and all the coaches are very welcoming. So I appreciate that from you guys, and it always makes me feel just comfortable to be there and not scared to try anything or look funny trying a new movement um, or feeling okay learning how to do something the right way. So yeah, I really loved the environment and the atmosphere and the community that was there.
Yeah. No, and it's really cool the way you put it too, because I think that's what stops a lot of people from trying it in the first place is thinking like, oh, I can't do it, I can't do that, I can't do this, so I'm not going to try it, right? And that's cool. Call it validating, so to speak, right? I'm
Hmm.
sure Rocky feels the same way. Say it on her behalf, right? That it's like if that environment was created for you where you felt comfortable being like, all right, I'm gonna figure some stuff out and probably mess around a little bit and screw some stuff up, but it'll be okay. Like I feel like
Yeah,
that's a good
yeah,
sign. That's what we're wanting to have, right? So that's it's really cool that you put it that way.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. So now we fast forward a little bit. So you've been, you were in it for, well, I guess the nutrition challenge itself started. When did that, was that last? It was like September, October, right? It was like fall time, maybe a little bit later in the year.
Yeah. I feel like it was around Halloween,
Halloween.
before Halloween
All right. Okay. Call it
or
late
something.
last year, late 2025. Yeah, late 2025. So it's starting. Before that, obviously, we're coaches, we're talking about it at the gym. And so at some point you hear about it and something about it piques your interest, right? Like what was that? What was it about the challenge that you were like, oh, that might be something I might want to get into?
I just thought, um, like trying something new and learning about something new that I never really thought about learning about. I'd always been wanting to learn about nutrition and eat healthier, and just, you know, give my body the right nutrients and whatever it needs. Um, so I thought, I might as well try it, see what I learn, see how I do. Because not knowing anything about it, I thought that would be a good opportunity to start learning. So yeah, that's why I decided to try out or sign up and try it out.
Yeah.
And yeah,
What did your nutrition look like before? the challenge?
Hey, quick interruption from me. I hope you're enjoying the episode so far. If you are, I have a favor to ask of you. The main way that this thing can continue to spread is through word of mouth. So if you're enjoying this episode, send it to someone or share it with someone that may benefit from it or enjoy it as well. Leave a comment, drop a 5-star review, follow the show, share about it on social media. That's the main way that we can help get this message out to others so we can continue to spread this, okay? I'd really appreciate it if you do that. And now let's get back to the show.
So I feel like when I first moved to Arizona, I kind of just, you get it, so I moved out here for my job, and then I was meeting new people and new friends. And so it was like going out a lot, eating out a lot, partying on the weekends and stuff. So I never really, like, I would eat good, like, but not really. So I just kind of ate whatever I wanted, but not too outrageous, like snacking all the time, just, meals when I'm hungry and couple snacks here and there. But I never focused on like getting all my protein that I need, getting the right amount of fiber and all that kind of stuff. It was just kind of whatever I wanted to eat when I was hungry.
Makes sense. Yeah. Did you feel like a change? Because what you said, so, I mean, you've been out here, I mean, based off of what we were talking about a little bit beforehand, you've been in Arizona for a few years, I think, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think this is year 3.
Year 3. Okay.
Yeah.
And now you've been doing CrossFit for, yeah, you just hit a year. Did you notice anything different with like any of your kind of how you approach nutrition once you started CrossFit, especially like the, ramp up of like the intensity of the workouts, the weights, the heavy weights, kind of getting back into that a little bit? Did you notice anything different? Maybe it was like you were just hungrier more often or something along or anything along those lines?
Um, I don't know if, hmm. Yeah, I don't know if I like noticed anything like that. Maybe in the mornings a little bit more hungrier because I do
Hmm.
my workouts in the mornings. But then I started uh, a little mix of a protein shake that I do every morning when I started CrossFit. So that kind of helped with that. And then, yeah, I think that's kind of all that I noticed.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I wasn't sure if, yeah, because that's usually a time where like some things start to change and you're like, oh boy, I might need to, who knows what the change is, right? So I was just curious on that. So okay, so
Yeah.
now you've got the interest in it and then you sign up for it. So now Rocky, question for you here. So now as we're getting ready for the challenge, you start to see people that are signing up, and then you see Sarah's name, and then I don't know if you guys like how the teams got assigned or whatever from a coach's perspective to the people that signed up, but you see that you're going to be working with Sarah.
Mhm.
What was your kind of reaction when you saw that?
I was excited. I work with Sarah at least a couple times a week or work out with her, so I was excited to continue that connection. But I also kind of saw it as a challenge for me because Sarah, you're so fit, and um, it's not like you came in needing to lose a bunch of weight. You perform well, so I'm like, okay, this is going to be a challenge in a good way, like challenge for me, and then a little bit of a challenge for you as you learn to navigate nutrition. But yeah, I was excited. She was really fun to work with.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, and that's kind of a cool thing from a coach's perspective, I'm sure too, is like having that bit of a change up of like, okay, like you said, right, with Sarah's fitness level and being like, okay, we still like, where are we going to find the ways to make improvements here too, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Yeah. I'm sorry, were you going to say something else?
Me?
Yeah.
No.
No. Okay. So Sarah, as you were going into it, what what were you expecting to have happen? That was kind of a loaded question, but coming into it, yeah, what did you have in mind? What did you want to get out of it when you first signed up?
Yeah, I definitely wanted to just I don't know if the word's lean out, I guess, like notice more muscle definition, um, in just like my arms or like abs or whatever. Um, just like seem more like strong, I guess. Feel more strong and not feel uh like before I'd get bloated a lot or just whatever I was eating wasn't um didn't sit right in my stomach. And that is something also that I learned through this too, like sometimes milk or cheese or whatever, and that's something that I just like with this challenge, it was easier to cut some of that kind of stuff out and learn like
Mm.
what does upset my stomach a lot or makes me feel super bloated and what doesn't. So um I guess that wasn't what I was expecting, but I was expecting to feel healthier.
Which I think, I mean, even those kind of two things you mentioned there, right? Of like leaning out, and then also, if you like seeing if you could identify like any of those foods that were causing some of that bloating or just like discomfort, right? If you want to call it that too. I mean, those are two pretty awesome wins to have in there, right? So like that second one you said you didn't go into it necessarily expecting to, or you weren't, were you even thinking about that like beforehand, or were you just like as it went along you were like, hey, this is weird, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, when did you realize that one?
Yeah, just um I think just when it might have been like a couple weeks in, I found the meals that I liked and I would repeatedly make those meals. And it kind of like my body felt a lot better and I wasn't having as many issues with just feeling bloated all the time.
Mhm.
So I think just like feeling better kind of made me realize that kind of thing. And even um I think a big part of it was just cheese. And so making like eating less cheese because I would snack on cheese all the time before. Like that was one of my snacks when I got home. So like realizing that and cutting that out, I even noticed it in like my skin was better and I felt less bloated.
Interesting. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Were you snacking on, was it like cheese sticks?
I just would eat shredded cheese straight from the bag.
Shredded cheese. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Because if we're going the cheese stick conversation, I was going to ask you if you were just take a bite out of it or a peel the cheese stick first. But never mind. You're like,
I'll take I like to peel it though if I do
oh,
have a
you're a
cheese
peeler.
stick.
Okay, gotcha,
Yeah.
gotcha, gotcha. Rocky, are you a peeler or a biter?
I'm a biter
You're a biter. Yeah.
with mustard on the cheese stick.
Do you dip the cheese stick or do you
No,
just
I
squirt
like
the mustard straight on it?
I scored a line of mustard on it. I
You are
just bite it.
goodness gracious. You know what? Oh my goodness. All right. This is the last time you're going to be on this show. No, okay. So, um, so, Rocky, like hearing that from Sarah, right? That even just that kind of secondary, well, okay, I guess two-part question, right?
Mhm.
The first piece of it that Sarah mentioned of like, hey, I want to lean out, kind of learn what meals fit with that, right? I'm curious, like, what was your approach with her on that, and even considering, like you said, right, working with someone that is kind of, that was at Sarah's fitness level, like, and finding the ways to find those improvements, right? I'm curious how you handled that, and then part two, that second piece that Sarah mentioned about like the discomfort, the bloating, things like that. How did you like? What was your perspective on that, or how did you fit into that to help Sarah identify those along the way? So, yeah, if you want to start with the first one, more of just like the approach on
The
that
approach,
initial.
yeah. So before we started the challenge, I had Sarah just track for a few days to see what she was eating normally, just to give me like a good baseline and see what we were working with and where we needed to go from there. And for her, what I did with her was I actually increased her calories, which was fun, I think, for Sarah. Gets to eat more. And not just with Sarah, I think a lot of people, especially people who like CrossFitters or people who do heavy lifting, um, I'd say a good majority of them who maybe aren't well versed in nutrition probably are not eating enough to support their um, their goals or their gains. But anyway, in this case, that was true for Sarah. So we slowly increased the calories, still keeping her in a little bit of a deficit, but not as much of a deficit. But eating enough to, support everything she was doing in the gym, kind of helping guide her with, protein, making sure she was getting enough protein just to support her muscle growth, and playing around with what felt best for her. So carbs versus fat wasn't a huge factor for me, but more so just making sure she was getting enough food and enough protein. So that was fun. It's always fun when you get to tell people they get to eat a little bit more, right? And then as far as, what was the second question?
Actually, I want to come back to that second.
Okay.
Come back to that second question, but pause there. So, Sarah, for you, when Rocky was like, "We're actually gonna," you tell Rocky, "Hey, I want to lean out," and then she's like, "Actually, we're gonna bump you up a little bit in calories."
Yeah.
I know, like that's the very common reaction is like, "Hey, homie, that math isn't mathing, right?" What was your reaction when you heard that?
Yeah, having no knowledge of like any of those things before, I was kind of thinking that's a lot. But I also never really tracked anything that I ate or tracked calories or any of that. So, when I did start tracking it and like really seeing how many calories it was, sometimes I'd have to add like apples and peanut butter or whatever, like as my late night snack to get a little bit more protein and calories in or something. And that was fine with me.
Was there any? I mean, you said that you were able to add some stuff like that in. Was there like what was the biggest adjustment to eating more when you first started? Because I like to think about it with people like there's obviously the I guess the fullness factor. That's the word I was looking for. I was like the
Mm-hmm.
opposite of hunger. What is that? The fullness factor, right? It's like, oh wait, my body's now getting way more than it was used to. Like
Yeah.
that can have an impact too. But then there's also like the just kind of logistical things, right? Like having enough food around to actually eat those calories, right? Prepping your
Mm-hmm.
food like amongst your busy schedule and stuff. Like what was the biggest adjustment to getting, to increasing your calories through that time?
I think it was just like meal prepping and
Mm.
and being sure to have all the food that I needed like with me at work for lunch or ready for me to cook when I got home. So I think just adjusting to have the mainly protein. It was a lot of protein that I needed. So just making sure that I was meeting that goal and having the right foods to um, meet that goal just with me, especially at work. Because towards the end of work, I noticed I'd get really hungry, and I already had all my food that I brought. So that was something I also had to work around, and learn how to either space out my breakfast, snack, and lunch in the right way, so that right when I got home, it was the perfect time to eat the rest of my food, and I wasn't starving.
Oh
But
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That makes sense. What did that meal prep look? Because meal prep can look different for so many people, right?
Hmm.
How did you approach meal prepping?
So I usually would make my dinners on Monday night. Um, and I just like a taco bowl, kind of rice and meat and whatever. So, I just have my meat and rice and I just eat that throughout the week. But for my lunches, I usually would cook that in the mornings before I go to work.
Oh,
So yeah. So it wasn't really meal prepping for lunch, but in my head, I would meal prep my groceries so I knew what I needed, and then I would make my lunches in the morning just because I get weird about food in the fridge for too long.
that makes sense. That makes sense. That's fair. That's fair. And sorry, I made that face not about the meal prep thing because like meal prep doesn't mean one specific thing, right? It's just making sure that you are prepared for whatever the day has coming with your meals, whatever that looks like. The face I was
Yeah.
making is because like I know you work out in the mornings too.
Yeah.
typically. So I'm thinking about it and I'm like, where you find it? Either you have the fastest meal prep of all time, or you like your schedule is different. I don't know. But yeah, did you just keep those meals very, very simple? Like how did you
Yeah.
manage to work all those things in your morning before going to work?
Yeah. So usually for my lunch, I have like scrambled eggs. So those don't take too
Okay.
long to make. And I really like scrambled eggs. I think they taste so good. So I'm fine with that. And it's quick and easy to make for me. And yeah, usually I'd make it when I do morning classes at the 6:30 morning classes, I just make it before I got ready for work. And then when I do the high rocks classes, because they're a little bit later, I do it before I go to high rocks.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. That makes sense. All right. Cool. Cool. Yeah. No. And I'm happy you laid that out because like no, I feel like the term meal prep, like I feel like there's an assumption that it's like I'm going to, grill everything in my house on Sunday afternoons. And if I don't do it then, well, this week's ruined and I'll start again next week. Right.
Hmm.
I don't know. You guys tell me. I feel like that's like at least what social media land tries to portray, right? It's like if you're not doing it like this,
Yeah.
then you're not meal prepping. And
Yeah.
and so I like
All
the way
the
you
containers.
yeah, yeah, the army of Tupperware containers. And don't get me wrong, like that's hey, if people do that, great. If that works for you, great.
Yeah.
But I like that you laid it out that way that it's like, hey, can meal prep can also be like one day at a time. It's really about being ready for what you have coming up that next day and not allowing the circumstances of the day to dictate then what you're gonna eat. It's more like making it fit around, what you have coming up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Rocky, now I want to come back to you, and I still have that second question in mind, but I have a different one first because I just
Okay.
keep thinking of different things. Um, so you mentioned okay when Sarah first got in, track a few days, kind of get a baseline, and then you bumped up her calories. And I know that that's something that you've done before. I know that's something that I've done in the past with people that I've been working with. What are things that you, from a just not specifically with Sarah? I mean, if you want to use Sarah's example just to kind of guide it, but in general, what are things that you look for that you see an example and you're like, oh, we might need to bump this person up. Like, what are you looking for?
Um, well, I generally have an idea based on getting to know the person prior, communication, just like what their activity levels are, what their goals are, their body composition, their weight, all of that, right? So then it's really a numbers game. So you look at what they're eating, they track for a bit, and you see, I mean, just to throw a round number out, somebody's eating 1,000 calories when that, you know, again, just from a number standpoint, that they're burning probably double that, right, every single day. Um, there's adjustments that need to be made. Now, not everybody is going to need to eat more, right? Obviously, it's going to depend on your goals. Um, so just taking everything into account. If somebody's wanting to get bigger and build muscle, that's going to look different than somebody who needs to or wants to cut body fat and lose a little bit of weight, right? So the approach will always be different, but having that week or so of baseline tracking sets really good groundwork to be able to kind of know how to navigate from there.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. And
Yeah.
then, Sarah, that was that your first experience really like tracking your food
Yeah.
that first week? Yeah. How was that? I feel like yeah, I don't know. What was that those first few days like? I'm sure there was a little bit of learning in there, and then finally actually seeing all your food like written down digitally, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, what was that like for you? With that being your first experience doing that?
I thought it was really cool. Because I never really tracked what I ate, so I never really knew what I ate throughout the day.
Mhm.
And so when I did start tracking it, I kind of like made me realize uh what I was eating, and even on times like when you're bored and you eat, like I realized I don't need to eat. I'm not bored. I'm probably thirsty. I probably need some water, actually, not food or a snack or something. So just tracking my food that way, it was cool to see everything all laid out and kind of uh, what each food provides for your body and stuff. And I thought that was really cool.
Nice. How did you, because sometimes that initial week or like kind of someone's first experience tracking, right? I use the analogy of like, you know, if you start like tracking a budget for like your finances and stuff, it's like those first few days are really rough because then you're like, holy crap, look at where I've been spending all my money. And it's very
Mm-hmm.
easy to like then kind of layer on some judgment on yourself for like not having done like did you feel any of that as you kind of started doing it? So it's
Mm.
almost like a beating yourself up for like
Oh,
doing the wrong thing when when you first start tracking, even though you maybe even didn't even know what right or
yeah.
wrong was in that instance.
I don't think I really ever felt like I was beating myself up or like, why did I used to eat like that? Because I never really had any intention of like eating bad or trying to eat really healthy. So I never really knew like I knew, okay, don't eat candy all the time, but like not like what was candy really giving to my body, not really anything. So I don't think I really beat myself up about it just because I didn't know really, or I didn't, not that I didn't care, but it didn't really cross my mind how much it would affect me. Um, yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like that's a good perspective, right? Because like I feel like Rocky, I'm going to talk this theory out. Since you work with clients and stuff too, you let me know what you think, right? But there's that beating yourself up can come in. It's almost like kind of like what I described before, right? But I like your perspective of it's like it's almost like since you didn't really have a good clear sense of like what quote unquote right or wrong was from that perspective. So you almost looked at it as just like learning along the way. It's like, oh, interesting, right? I don't know. I'm kind of making assumptions and speaking for you a little bit, but that's a very full perspective to have, especially going into something new like that. And for whatever reason, I feel like the like tracking food, tracking calories is not a space that a lot of people go into it with that perspective with. And that can be
Yeah.
very rough because then you're just like, kicking yourself for doing something quote unquote wrong that you didn't even know was wrong until you plugged it into a little thing on your phone, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think, and now kind of, coming off the holidays and everything, it's kind of been hard to follow. And I've been busy just, with work and being busy also it makes it harder to make meals and get the right kind of things. But yeah, so I haven't been very good at tracking things lately, but I plan on starting again like this week. But the hardest part is just starting. So, once you start and you kind of like I've noticed I've just been eating out a lot just with holidays and work and moving houses and stuff. So, with a lot going on, it's hard to find those kinds of meals, but I'm still not like beating myself up over it just because I'm not going to add more stress to my plate because I noticed that also I get less sleep or other things are affected if I am more stressed. So I kind of just I look at things that way, what's going to be the healthiest like in my head and then also for me to get, to my goal or get through the week, I guess.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Right. And by the way, that was the best possible unintended pun you could have had right there. And I just had to say something, right? Of just like adding stuff to your plate. Sorry. I'm a nerd.
Yeah.
I had to say something. But it makes a ton of sense, right? Like you said, there, everybody's kind of got what's that analogy of like, filling up a cup, right? And if it's like filling up, it overflows and stuff, right? And if you look at your stress like that, right? So if that was something where, at least like you said, and I like the way you put it, right? It's like for this period of time, like if that, you know, slips a little bit, like for you, that's an okay trade-off because you know that like this stress time of moving and whatever the case is in the holidays is going to end. And then it's like, all right, cool. We'll just pick it back up. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's, yeah, it's like, I'm curious how, like, if there was anything in this that you picked up from working with Rocky, because that sounds like the complete opposite of like the all or nothing mindset. So I'm curious if that was a topic that ever came up in conversations with you two throughout the challenge, or if that was something that, maybe a perspective that you just have had along the way.
Yeah, so we would submit little weekly summaries and stuff
Mhm.
every week, and sometimes I would talk about just trying to balance, like if my boss took me out for lunch one day, even and it didn't fit in what I had planned to eat for that day, or it's my friend's birthday, so we're going out this weekend, partying and stuff, and trying to fit that in. And she gave me a little blurb about like balance, and like it's okay if you do have like fun and stuff, and just be mindful of what you are eating, and or but what you are drinking. If you're out drinking, like stay away from all the sugary drinks, and you can still have fun and eat healthy, and supply your body with what it needs every day. And so I kind of, from that, kind of figured, like, if I am going to be doing hang out with friends or going out to eat or something, looking for meals on the menu beforehand that I can like know, because sometimes I get rushed with what I want to order. So just making sure that I know what options I do have, and seeing like how they fit in my schedule for my food schedule for the day. And then if I'm planning on going out and drinking for a night, making sure that I am meeting all of my goals before I go and do that, like making sure I get all my protein and everything, so that it's not like I'm off track for the whole weekend or something.
How much did that help you as you were going through it? Because like we said before, right? This is your kind of first exposure, to really like focusing on your nutrition, right? How much did
Mm-hmm.
that perspective and that coaching from Rocky in that way help you through that and through those, whether it's a weekend away or going out to eat with friends or work work meals or something like that? How big of a help was that?
I think it was really helpful because it made me like not scared to fail, not necessarily fail, but like mess up every now and then, because um she let me know like it's okay to balance things out, and like you don't have to completely stop doing something just to see like the results that you want and stuff, and just like letting me know it's okay to still have fun, and still, if I wanted a dessert one day, like that's not going to ruin everything. It's okay to have a little splurge once in a while, just like not getting off track for so long and not picking it back up. Like if one bad thing happens, it's like it's done, it's over. You could still pick it up and keep going.
Yeah.
It's like you miss one day at the gym, it's fine, just go the next day.
Yeah. Yeah, I think have you ever read Atomic Habits by James Clear? Yeah,
No.
Rocky's got the head. Really good. I might have a copy of it. If I can find it, I'll bring it for you. One of the things that he says, it's massively popular book, really, really good. But one of these things he says is basically, he said, like, if you have a habit that you're working on or that you've built, right, don't miss it 2 days in a row, because then that's a start of a
Mm-hmm.
new habit, essentially, right? So it's like, hey, one day, totally cool, things happen, life happens. But then if you miss it again the next day, then now you're starting to essentially teach yourself or learn a new habit, which is probably not in the direction you want to be going. So
Yeah.
that perspective, this sounds like that was a solid lesson for you. So learning that, right, having that approach and having that perspective for you kind of gave you a little bit of, we'll call it freedom, right? To like have those life situations come up and not feel like it's gonna derail you or anything like that. How is that? Would you say that that's one of the bigger kind of takeaways that you have? I mean, there's obviously detailed stuff in terms of just like the your numbers, nutrition, things like that. But so I feel like a lot of improving nutrition habits is mindset. If you want to call it
Mm-hmm.
like mental gymnastics, I like to joke about that, right? But it kind of is. Um,
Yeah.
were there any other lessons like that one that you picked up from Rocky over the course of the challenge, just from like a mental perspective towards your nutrition that stick with you?
Yeah, I think you know, like learning something new, you're never going to get it right on the first time. So it was nice to be able to learn and learn how to do it, but then also like grow from that. And I think her just giving me instruction each week and um, kind of telling me what different food, not food categories, but like fiber. She sometimes she would mention this. I noticed you're eating this food a lot, and this has this much fiber. So maybe like how are you feeling with that much? Maybe you don't need that much, or like it's a lot for a typical woman to need day to day. So then just kind of switching that up, but it was cool to be able to learn and like be given grace, I guess, while learning, and then also feeling better and succeeding in that. So yeah, I think that was just cool to be able to learn and learn how to give myself grace on different situations, but also feel like I was improving, and just learning something new.
Oh, that makes a ton of sense, right? Because like the journey itself, especially like, and you said it right. It's like you're learning something new. It's you're not going to get it right the first time every time, right? There's going to be
Mm-hmm.
an improvement, and that's kind of like expected. I feel like nutrition a lot more than most things, um, but having that and learning that it's like it's okay to not be perfect, and that like you can still make progress that way is that's a huge one that'll serve you for a a long time as you continue to ingrain the habit, right? So thinking on that and that kind of like that approach to it and finding that balance between like, hey, there's life stuff that's going to come up,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm curious from your coach's eye, right,
Mm-hmm.
how you balance that with with people you're working with, whether it was Sarah or just kind of thinking big picture or not, how you balance that approach with, let me see if I can find a nice way to put this, um, with holding people accountable to the goals that they have,
Mm-hmm.
because there's kind of a bit of a tug and pull between those two
Mm-hmm.
things, right? Life does happen
Sure.
and nobody's going to be perfect. And then there's also the other side of that that can teeter into where it's like now it's happening so often that it is actually detracting you from what you're trying to get to. So I'm curious from you how working with people with and finding that balance between
Mm-hmm.
those two sides of the coin.
Yeah, that's a good question because I've coached both sides of that before, right? And at the end of the day, I mean, it's personal accountability, right? Like I can do what I can do to guide you. But it does, there have been instances where that balance becomes maybe too much of a responsibility for some people to handle, which is fine. Like I'm the type of person where if there's cookies in the house, like I'm not going to go and get one. I will continue to go back and take small bites of several until the pack is gone, right? So I'm the type of person that I don't do as well with that kind of freedom in certain areas, right? And so I don't know. I think some people might need a little bit more discipline. Maybe you narrow it down to like, hey, if you want your, I hate to say cheat meal, but if you want to go off plan a little bit, like let's choose one meal to do it, or one day to do it, or have a little bit of a stricter, tighter guidelines, kind of. And that's again only if somebody is very gung ho and serious about achieving a certain goal, right? Like you got to kind of play by the rules if you're going to get there. So there's that approach, and then like somebody, um, like Sarah, for example, was pretty disciplined in how she was eating. So that one off where it was a drink or two or a dessert or whatever it was in the grand scheme of things didn't really matter so much. Um,
Mm.
so I don't know. I don't know if that really answers your question, but it does kind of come down to what your goals are. If you are if you are trying to lose a bunch of weight, those guidelines are going to be much tighter. You're not going to have as much room to kind of fall off course, right? Um, so it kind of just depends on the person.
Yeah. Well, and I think the other thing that I kind of heard in that answer too is a little bit of personality style
Mm-hmm.
of the client mostly. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure the coach's personality style plays in there too. But for for the person, for the client side of things, right? If somebody can, you know, approach that, call it freedom,
Mm-hmm.
with a sense of discipline around it, right? To not have that snowball effect happen, right? Of like oh, I had one cookie, well, here goes a whole pack of double stuffed Oreos, right? Um, some people might put mustard on it, but I don't know who those people are. But that, yeah,
Not on
um,
Oreo. Not on an Oreo.
not on an Oreo. Okay, good. Yeah, I'm glad you have a boundary. So yeah, there's that bit of discipline that comes into play, right? If somebody doesn't have that and you kind of see that, right, then putting those tighter boundaries, but then also as the coach recognizing when somebody doesn't necessarily have that specific kind of issue, right? Like you said with Sarah, where it's
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, like there's just some kind of natural, normal life things that are happening here that it's
Mm-hmm.
like that's taking the opposite approach of like it's okay if it's not perfect all the time, right? Like it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine.
Mm-hmm. And you kind of have to just learn, the person's, like you said, personality. Some people do better with a little bit, more of a rigid plan and kind of things are black and white and this is how it's done. And then they do really great. And others need a little bit more freedom to kind of, I not, I don't want to say fall off track, but to just kind of sway a little bit. And that's fine because at the end of the day, a cookie is a drop in the bucket, when it comes to
Right.
your goals. My biggest thing is like less about what you're eating and not eating, as far as staying within your macros and stuff, but more just about, like Sarah was saying, how you're fueling your body, like looking at food as fuel, right? Especially as somebody who's super active in the gym or if you've got an active job, um, just paying attention to how your body feels with certain food and treating the food that you eat like fuel to be able to perform these things, right? So I know when I'm not eating well or I'm eating super heavy or, you know, too much alcohol or too much sugar, I don't feel good and I don't perform well. So for me, that's enough to kind of put myself in check and be like, okay, what does my body need right now?
Mm.
It's like craving food that's going to give me energy and life, right? So there's that aspect too.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you kind of mentioned the feeling piece of Sarah for you as you were making these changes, changing what you were eating, how you were eating, meal prep, all the things we've talked about, right? What did you notice? Well, you mentioned one earlier, which is the second question that I still hadn't come back to yet, but we're gonna get there. Like the discomfort, the bloating was starting to kind of go away once you identified that like cheese and maybe some kind of just a dairy tie in there. What did you
Mm-hmm.
notice in the gym in terms of like how your workouts were going, things like that? Like what did you notice? What did you feel?
I definitely felt stronger. I think with the addition of more protein, I felt a lot stronger and I noticed it a lot. And like even my family would tell me that I look a lot stronger, which is really cool. Because I don't think I've ever really had muscle definition in my arms like I do now, and it's not even a lot, but it's something that other people are noticing, so that's pretty cool. um, so definitely notice feeling stronger and also feeling just more energized, you know. I like to or recently I have been running, and so after work there's a gym in my building, so I'll just go run on the treadmill, kind of for high rocks training. But even just having that after work, I feel more like I don't feel tired. Like, oh, I would rather just go home and whatever, but I still have energy. Or if I just have a little protein bar snack right after work, I feel like, oh, that just regained my energy. I don't need to have like another cup of coffee for that. I could just, the food is giving me energy. It's not just caffeine or something like that. So it was cool to feel those kinds of things, like food is energy. And yeah.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah. And are you doing that High Rocks race in a couple weeks?
Yeah.
All right, there you go. So we're getting ready for it. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, like you said, and that's even a different kind of workout in itself, right? So, just the added running and things like that. So that's really cool to hear, because that is the kind of thing, especially considering you felt it relatively quickly. It sounds like after making some of these changes, those are the kinds of things that you notice, and you're like, oh, okay, I made this change, right? Nutrition, and I'm getting this outcome. I guess I'm going to stick with this other thing, right? This whole eating more thing is kind of nice, and I'm getting, and I'm feeling stronger in the gym, which is probably really cool. not to not
Yeah.
to necessarily not to oversimplify.
Yeah. No, it
Yeah.
is really cool.
Yeah. That's awesome. So, okay, only a couple more, last couple of questions for both of you, right?
Mhm.
So, you know, Rocky, for you, um, if you could give a message to, you know, whether it's someone listening, about what they can learn from Sarah's experience and Sarah's story, in terms of like how nutrition coaching, working with a coach, can be helpful to someone, right?
Mhm.
Um, what would you tell someone?
Um, I mean, going into it or finding a nutrition coach, and going into it with an open mind, and just being willing and ready to learn. And I mean, Sarah said a lot of really great points with just like being patient with yourself, right? You're not gonna learn anything in a day. You're not gonna unlearn maybe years of less than ideal habits. And this is the long game, right? It's not an overnight fix. This is a lifestyle change, and these types of things just they take time. Sometimes they could take. I mean, Sarah saw great results in 6 weeks. 6 weeks, which is awesome. But this could be, like I said, a long game, months, years. So just having patience and being kind to yourself, and finding somebody that you trust to kind of help you navigate through, just all of the information. There's so much information out there. There's a lot, especially with social media these days, right? There's 8 million diets, and every single one of them is the right one, right? Um, so just finding somebody who understands the nuances, and is able to kind of just guide you through a lot of nonsense. Mm-hmm.
I mean, if that isn't the best way to put it, right? It's just the sea of nonsense. Um, um, no, those are fabulous points. Well, very well said. And Sarah, similar question to you, a little bit of a different spin, right? Is if someone's thinking about nutrition coaching, right? Looking for coaches, trying to understand like who's going to be a good fit for them. If you think back on, think on your experience working with Rocky, like what are things that about that experience that you would give other people as like a piece of advice of like, here's what to look for in a coach to know that someone's the right person to work with? What would you tell someone?
Yeah, I would say someone just that is super welcoming and that does want you to succeed. Um, and someone who is open-minded, just ready to help out and um, willing to roll with the punches with you. If you have questions, it's like I never feel nervous asking questions or reaching out and texting. So I think definitely someone that you trust or you'd feel willing to, pull them aside for a conversation. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, great. Well, thank you both so much for doing this. I appreciate it. This was a lot of fun. I mean, Sarah, it was awesome to see your results, and congratulations, one, on winning the challenge, but more importantly, like, hey, you learned a whole mess of cool stuff along the way, and hopefully it's continuing to serve you. And Rocky, you're the official clubhouse leader on number of appearances on the Silverback Media podcast. We're gonna have to get you another bumper sticker or something like that.
Perfect.
Yeah. All right, awesome. Thank you. Any final thoughts, final parting words for the peoples from either of you?
Sarah?
Sign up for nutrition coaching.
There you go.
It's really cool and really fun.
Me? Oh, yeah, sign up for nutrition coaching. Your coaches, if you have a good one, who cares? I mean, I'll speak for myself. I love what I do. I love just teaching people about nutrition and getting them to fall in love with fueling their bodies, feeling their best, looking their best, performing their best. So if you're thinking about it, stop thinking and do it.
Yeah.
Go.
Just do it.
Just do it.
All right. That's a perfect way to end it. Awesome. Thank you both so much. I appreciate you. Thank you for being on the show.
You got it. Thanks, Marco. Bye. Bye, Sarah.
See ya.
If you enjoyed this episode, please consider sharing with a friend. To get notified of future episodes, please follow the show on your favorite podcast app so you can continue to hear these stories. For more behind-the-scenes content of Everyday CrossFitters, follow on YouTube and Instagram at Silverback Media. Until next time, this has been the Silverback Media Podcast.